Muppet Show. Bong. Anybody? Yeah, that's what I thought. We're about ready to start the show live. Yes, we are about ready to start the show. Fixing to start the show. Oscar predictions on everybody's mind. It's 4:59. Fixing to start the show. We are. Let's talk about this. All right, here we go. There you go. It's about time to start the live show, and I imagine that Justin, hello everybody. Yes, I imagine that Justin is behind the curtain, you know, the little man behind the curtain you're not supposed to pay attention to. So he'll be in here in just a second. Folks, welcome to the show. Live show starting now. It's Torn Tuesday. As we like to call ourselves, the OneRing.net has earned the very affectionate moniker Torn. So welcome to Torn. All you OneRing.net ringers, all you folks out there who do share a common love, as we always say and always come back around to, our common love of J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the show for you guys. And yes, we're going to be talking about some very interesting news that just hit the wavelength. The interwebs has been, excuse me, the internet has been going crazy with the Uma Thurman news. Piecing these things together is going to be really fun. But we're going to have a bit more of an entertainment journalism feel on tonight's episode. It's always about Tolkien, and of course it's about The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion, and all of our shared love of Tolkien, and how his works are represented in movies and media and video games, and soon-to-be virtual reality worlds that are coming up soon. So we're starting this live show right now, as we always do, by introducing ourselves. This is Torn Tuesday. A very happy Tuesday to you. We've got a really big show. We're going to have an entertainment journalism feel because it's time for Oscar predictions and a lot of Academy Award buzz and a lot of familiar people that we know and love who worked on the 6 Middle-earth films, now crossing to other film projects far and wide, and they're up for some gold this year, are they not? And we're also going to talk about the delicious Uma Thurman news that just came to the forefront. Here is my co-host. My wizard is never late, but arrives only when he means to. Yeah, that's how it goes. Justin.
Hi, Instagram. I told you
Justin's here on the show.
I'm
Hi,
back.
Instagram, back.
I did a little pregame show on Instagram.
Pregame?
And now we're on the regular channel, theonering.net/live, or you can go to our Facebook page. Just search for The One Ring on Facebook.
When he says pregames, he's had a nip of the old vineyards. Because Bilbo offered him a glass as soon as he walked in.
I was live with them. That has nothing to do with the vineyards.
But see, whenever Bilbo offers some wine, he's the first one to say, yes, of course, a bit of the old vineyards I've got left, Gandalf. And he says, just tea, thank you. That is what you're supposed to say properly. Just tea, thank you.
Well, we're getting late-breaking news. Let me blow your mind real quick.
Oh, late-breaking news more than the Uma Thurman news, which is blowing my mind?
The deal was...
Okay.
If Uma had accepted, Ethan Hawke was going to have a role.
That was a heavy-handed rumor that floated around for months.
Not just a rumor.
That Ethan was going to be Eomer.
Eomer.
Yes.
And they were married at the time. Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman were married in 1998.
Indeed, they were. They were like the golden couple of Hollywood. This was before Gwyneth Paltrow and Mr. Coldplay.
Carl Urban?
No, well, hey, I can't imagine Carl Urban being played by Ethan Hawke. I can't imagine that. I really can't. But the Uma Thurman rumor...
Eomer?
I can much more easily visualize Uma Thurman...
You like that?
...as Eowyn.
You like that?
Yes. I'm one of the few people on Earth...
Are you guys listening to this?
...who is fascinated by this... you know what you call this? It's called stunt casting. It's when people sit in a room and they say, what if, Al Pacino had played
Scoot over
Aragorn.
so Instagram can see you.
I love you, Instagram. You're awesome. So, and it's just a drinking game where you're sitting around saying, oh, what if Keanu Reeves played Eomer? Blah, blah, blah.
What's up, boys? Spirited Book. We got all of our regulars in the chat room.
Hi,
We're
guys.
here on Instagram right now.
What do you think, guys? Tell us in the chat what you think about Uma Thurman as Eowyn.
We've got Facebook Live.
Yes,
we've got everything. Look, we've got
Ustream. We on Ustream?
Yeah, we're on Ustream.
Twitter Live, Facebook Live.
Instagram Live. It's amazing.
Someone says Al Pacino is Gandalf. Now, there you go. There you go. See, that's an interesting idea. I don't know if that would have worked, though. No. Ian is Bay.
You know
that's
what?
Right.
So we don't normally do this.
Wasn't Nick Cage considered to play Aragorn once?
Yes,
says
absolutely.
Concerning hobbits. That is also true.
True.
That is also true.
But Uma Thurman went on, I believe it was the Late Show, and she this week, and she said that her biggest career regret was refusing to play Eowyn.
Refusing to play Eowyn. Damn.
And Ethan Hawke would have been Eomer.
And she said that out loud. The audience went nuts.
And you want that?
Audience went nuts.
You want that?
I don't say I want that.
You.
I admit.
That is totally.
I admit.
That's a no. For me.
I only admit that I'm tantalized by the idea that I could get behind that. I didn't say I want it.
No,
don't put faults. Don't put faults.
You could get behind
narrative.
It.
I could be tantalized by that idea.
All right,
I'm
we don't
sorry,
normally do this, but we're gonna open the
it's
hotline.
crazy for me to say
right
this out
now.
loud.
We need your input.
We do. We need your input.
The
All right.
Skype is scrolling above our heads.
Da-da-da-da.
It's the One Ring Net. It's also called Barnum and Butterbur if you're looking. But look for the One Ring Net. Maybe it's Webmaster at the One Ring Net. I think that's the email address. If you go to Skype, search for the Webmaster at the One Ring Net. The name comes up as Barnum and Butterbur. Or you can call us.
Barnum and Butterbur.
Call us at this phone number right here, 530-64-FRODO.
Frodo.
530-643-7636. That's our phone number. It goes right to our phones. And we want
Number 4, FRODO. That's it.
Let's talk about this
For
Uma
Frodo.
Thurman thing, because I'm
tantalized.
wholly against it.
What?
And he is wholly for it.
I didn't say that. I did not say. Guys,
extremes, black and white.
Let's just say that this is the usual banter we enjoy on this show. This guy, his name is Justin.
Death panels.
My name's Clifford. It looks like the lower third is in reversed because that says Cliff over there. His name is not Cliff. That's me. I'm Clifford. Welcome to our show. This is my producer and co-host, Justin Sewell. And here at theonering.net, we are always interested in digging apart all the details, even to the ultimate nerd level, like deep cuts. How would you feel if it was not Miranda Otto? Do you guys have any problems with Miranda Otto having possibly been played by Uma Thurman's presence, eyes, look, energy?
She looks good. Look,
she would give a different read on it. I'm telling you, Uma Thurman
would have been great.
would have brought us such a different read on Eowyn.
Would have been great.
My main problem with the way Eowyn was portrayed is the way that they hacked up her speech when she fights the Witch King on the Battle of the Pelennor Fields in The Return of the King. The fact that we have so much dedicated time in these movies to exact dialogue, word-for-word dialogue from Tolkien himself, from his characters in his books, and then at that one shining moment when Meriadoc takes that dagger, stabs the Witch King in the leg, and she takes that moment to take him down, and that was the moment she could have had the most perfect, seamless, flawless dialogue right from Tolkien, but no, it was a completely truncated thing.
Let me ask you
it was so sloppy chopped, and then she just says, "I am no man," and she goes, "Ah!" She just gets him, and then that's it.
Let me ask you this.
And I'm like,
Ryan
okay.
in the chat room
The animated film did it better. The animated film did it word for word.
Would you support Uma Thurman standalone Eowyn movie?
What? A standalone Eowyn movie? Now wait, what?
Look at his face, folks.
What?
Look at his face.
I don't know. I think Uma Thurman might be too old now to play the part of Eowyn.
After the War of the Ring.
This is 15 years later. Oh, there's no such story of Eowyn after the War of the Ring.
All the more reason that we can revisit Rohan. She
now
can bury her
now you're
father.
proposing fan fiction that doesn't exist in Tolkien, and there's a reason why those things don't happen. There's
Rogue One is fan fiction, but it's still good.
It was the best. But Rogue One was not just fan fiction. It had the blessing of George Lucas. Hello? Tolkien is not around anymore to give that blessing. That blessing now lies with Christopher Tolkien, his son. That's why we don't have, off the rails like side movies in Middle Earth or.
So you wouldn't watch a Uma Thurman standalone Eowyn movie?
I I have a deep problem. I have a deep problem with something that isn't from Tolkien's pages himself.
Oh my gosh! So
You know what I would rather have?
You're saying no on principle.
I'm saying I'd rather take that money and those production resources and make a movie about Numenor and the fall of the Numenorians and the early rise of Gondor. That would be cool. I mean, because that exists in the appendix. It's in the book.
You just talked about how her performance was chopped up.
Hashtag nerd.
The dialogue and everything was chopped up in Return of the King. We didn't get a full Eowyn that the book gets. Let me ask you this:
we got a great Eowyn, but it could have been better, and I'm intrigued by the Uma Thurman idea.
Let me ask you this:
I'm intrigued.
Do you know any movies that Miranda Otto did before Lord of the Rings?
She had done some television in New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah, so nothing on a grand scale. Let me ask you this: as a filmmaker,
she's done a lot of big things, and she's done some big TV shows now.
You've produced movies. You know what it's like in the edit room.
Yeah.
You know that you have footage, but sometimes you don't have a take or you don't have a reading of a word that is to your liking. You know those decisions are made in the edit room where it's like, you know what, the performance isn't there. We got to cut part of the scene. And it's a tough decision, but that's part of editing.
That's what happened to the mouth of Sauron.
Yes,
and
exactly.
It wasn't Bruce Spence's fault, the performer himself, but he was buried under these weird latex split mouth of Sauron things that they couldn't get to work right.
Yeah.
And Peter was not satisfied with the prosthetics, combined with whatever Bruce was doing, and then they just thought the tone of it wasn't quite right. And so some people have a question about that revisionism that Lucas does when he re-edits Star Wars all the time. Was it appropriate for Peter Jackson to put the mouth of Sauron back into the extended edition of Return of the King, when originally it was alleged that Peter didn't care for it and it wasn't working with the prosthetics and the tone of the presentation of that character? He felt it wasn't working. Although it was a sense of heightened drama he would reveal Frodo's mithril coat of mail.
But that's what I got out of
That does
Eowyn.
deepen the drama that he's there.
That's how I felt about Eowyn's edits in Return of the King. I felt like, the reason she's
got a lot
cut
more
off is maybe the performance wasn't there.
You think?
Do you think Uma Thurman, because of the star power, because of her experience, because she's Uma Thurman, do you think we would have got more Eowyn if Uma were in that role?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. I took a cab ride with Miranda Otto once, and she seemed to be quite intimidated by the idea that Eowyn represents almost a lightning rod point of feminism as a discussion in Tolkien. And whether or not Tolkien has been accused of many things, being a stuffy British guy from the 20th century, the last century, because we're not in that one anymore, and his attitudes towards women and the fact that there were no women in The Hobbit caused female characters to be created by the screenwriters. And on the female character Arwen's presence was allegedly beefed up, and all the rumors around Lord of the Rings films were like, what's happening with this modern day view that we have of how women are represented versus the way Tolkien was representing women at the time when it was pre-Iron Age.
Right.
Pre-Iron Age, prehistory of mankind. All right, so Eowyn gets the best of all possible worlds because she gets the Mulan storyline. One of our favorite things about the Eowyn storyline is that she gets the Mulan treatment, and therefore, against all culture, and all tradition, and all context of where this story is set in that time, Eowyn gets to come forward and be that feminist voice, or that voice where feminists now identify with her more strongly than anyone else in The Lord of the Rings. Feminists don't identify, and the idea of women's rights advocates, they don't identify with Tauriel as much as they identify with Eowyn, because she was a woman in a man's world who did what she had to do to defend her house, to feel like she was a part of helping her uncle, helping her family. It's really fascinating to me that Uma Thurman may have been properly prepared to take that on, because when I was talking casually with Miranda in the back of the taxi cab in Wellington, New Zealand, when they were filming the scenes in the Two Towers that included the healing of Theoden, I was there on set with Ian and Vigo, and Gimli's stunt double fighting their way into the room, and then Wormtongue's henchmen tried to block them from getting access to Theoden, and that whole healing of Theoden scene was like under my very eyes. So I'm in a cab ride getting back from a late-night bar with Sala Baker, Sauron, the boys from Weta, everybody in the physical props department. They're all drinking, singing karaoke, and I catch a late-night cab home with who else? Miranda Otto. And I was talking to her about this very point of context about Eowyn being such a central figure for feminist ideals and the way women are treated and respected in literature and why Eowyn is so important to people. And she seemed to be, quite honestly, a bit pale at the idea. She seemed to be kind of, she turned a shade white and said, "Oh dear God, no, so much is on me." Like she seemed a bit like mouse frightened by the idea that the Eowyn storyline is a storyline of female empowerment that Tolkien takes to the best possible place.
So Uma Thurman was all in on that.
I would have thought Uma Thurman would not be mouse pale or intimidated by the looming cultural relevance of the character she was about to play on film. When I talked to Miss Miranda Otto, and please don't take this wrong, Miranda, we love you, and I thought your performance is fabulous. But when I did speak with you at the time, you did blanch a little bit at the suggestion that there is any looming cultural awareness about Eowyn, and you did seem to be intimidated and quite, concerned that you were stepping into something that might be too big for you. It almost had that air in her, the anxiety was quite clear in her voice and her reaction in that conversation. I don't think Uma Thurman would have had the same amount of anxiety at all. I think she would have approached it with gusto.
So what
with
do you
real
think,
gusto.
What do you think of all the comments that we saw on our Instagram page, and here in the chat room, even some people are like, "Thank God Eowyn said no. She's a horrible, horrible choice."
So what do I say to those people?
Yeah.
I guess you don't know Uma Thurman. I guess we don't know these people. I mean, you could talk about Meryl Streep. Like, what if it was like, Meryl Streep, who was not appropriate to play an Australian woman who had her child, and caused this national scandal, the baby eating my dingo. It's all that, I don't think you can say anything about completely slamming someone out of the running, because if Peter and Fran at the time and the people who were backing him up at New Line Cinema, if they were already going through the casting process, if they believed in Uma Thurman and her viability in the role, I wouldn't shit-can the whole idea just like that. I would not categorically say that. Because if Peter was considering Uma Thurman, he had a reason to consider her. And if Uma Thurman said she had the chance and turned it down, she had her reasons for turning it down, and she regrets it. And she's admitting that openly now. So I would at least give the idea some thought. I would at least air it out a little bit instead of shutting down the whole thing. Come on.
Melanie says Uma Thurman's Eowyn could have changed the story a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what we were just starting to get into. I think the caliber of performance Uma would have brought, the caliber of performance, we would have encouraged the filmmakers to put more dialogue and more scenes in the movie.
Look at what Uma Thurman brought to Kill Bill. Just imagine if Uma Thurman had brought that energy to Eowyn. I actually, some people actually say that if there are any weak links to be found in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, it is not to be found in the art department, music score, visual effects, the miniatures, anything. People like to pick on moments of dialogue in the Lord of the Rings that stand out as odd. For me, Fellowship of the Ring had a moment that didn't feel quite right for me. It was when Aragorn says, sheathing the knife, he says, "Let's hunt some orc."
I love that.
It sounded like...
I love that.
When I first heard it, it didn't sound like Tolkien.
Oh!
Like everything...
What?
Everything else that preceded that moment. By stark contrast, dude, that one line stood out to me in great contrast, because what preceded it, that came out of Aragorn's mouth, was much more like Tolkien, not that.
We're getting a call from Alex.
People like to pick on... I like to pick on the Eowyn dialogue. Hey.
Alex, what's
Hello.
going on?
What's going on,
Can you hear me?
Book? Don't you agree people like to pick on that moment?
You can hear us, right?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can people in the chat hear you good?
Is it not accepted that many people complain and have complained for 15 years about the way Eowyn's speech was butchered on the Battle of the Pelennor Fields? Am I right or am I right?
Yeah, no, you're right.
That's
Absolutely.
as old as the hills. So I'm not crazy.
All right, that's the topic of the day.
I'm not crazy.
What's your opinion of this, Alex?
I act crazy.
I think one thing that we need to talk about when we're talking about changes being made to a film, especially in terms of casting choices, is not just the overall impact of the character, but the impact of the story as well, and perhaps maybe the overall ending to that film. Would The Lord of the Rings still receive all these Oscars if this person played this character, as well as, I guess, what I was thinking?
Oh, you're even putting into question the SAG award that they got for Best Ensemble, which is the top prize from the Guild. Maybe that would have changed too, maybe?
I'm just thinking in terms of the success of The Lord of the Rings. Would her act... I don't doubt she's a great actor. I'm just saying perhaps... Because there have been poor performances from good actors in certain films. What if it wasn't up to par, or what if it wasn't the greatest in these specific films?
Do you think that the negative reaction, is just because we're used to Miranda Otto, and if Lord of the Rings had come out with Uma Thurman, and we were talking about Miranda Otto and the opposite, right now, if people would be having the same reaction? Do you think it's just that we're used to the wonderful?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why. I think it's a character we all grew up with, this person playing this character, and we don't like change. No one likes change. I think that's a key point.
Especially Tolkien purists. Especially
Exactly.
fans of Tolkien who are addicted to his language because his language was so masterful. You know, there's a reason why Treebeard's dialogue gets used much later on in Gandalf's mouth when he's telling Pippin about what the afterlife is like. You know, it's because we just can't lose that beautiful dialogue. So I have to admit, go back to the 1985, 84 Rankin and Bass animated Return of the King, and they got the Eowyn dialogue perfect because it's word for word from the book. I'm allowed to be a purist for half a minute.
All right, so final answer before we let you go. Whose side are you on? Are you on Cliff's side and would have enjoyed Uma Thurman, or are you on my side where it's like, no way, Jose?
I think it depends on the time period. If I was living back then, I would have maybe said, "Oh, maybe that's a good idea." But I think now, in today's day and age, I agree that Miranda Otto was a good choice.
Yes, she was lovely.
In terms of casting.
Miranda was lovely.
That character.
Good. I agree. Well, thanks for calling in. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. It's great to see you. Thank you. We have all of our regulars. There's Hannah Took. There's Pete, North Runner. How you doing? We got lots of friends in the chat.
All right, our Skype is open, and you guys can hear the Skype better than normal.
Yeah.
I tweaked some settings, so you guys... It's cool because we can see the picture-in-picture Skype, and you guys said in the chat room said you could hear him clearly.
That's great.
So
yeah.
let's get some more Skype calls.
Let's get some more Skype calls.
Look, let's set the stage. All right, we're talking 1998. People are saying she was too much of a star for this movie, but let's go back. Okay.
Too much of a star? Who?
Uma Thurman?
No, the real complaints came about Liv Tyler and her casting as Arlen.
I know she was huge.
That pissed off a lot of Tolkien
just come off,
purists.
Armageddon? She was in the biggest movies at the time.
Yeah, she was.
Uma Thurman, what was she in? Pulp Fiction, 97? What else? Nothing. Kill Bill had not come out yet. None of the movies that you know Uma Thurman for.
She had been in The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, and she...
Who saw that?
Everyone. That was one of Terry Gilliam's best films.
What else?
What else? Let me think a few minutes.
Exactly. She wasn't that big of a star in 1998 when they were casting Lord of the Rings. Uma Thurman was just coming up. I would say
she was discovered by Terry Gilliam, to be quite honest.
I would say that Elrond himself might have been just as big of a star.
Hugo Weaving?
Hugo Weaving. He had just come off Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, which was a massive movie over here in the States as well. I mean, I remember, like, everyone was talking about Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
But, I mean, everyone knew Uma because, David Letterman made that huge joke at the Academy Awards where he clumsily tried to introduce Oprah Winfrey to Uma Thurman, and he made jokes on the sounds of the phonetics of their names.
That was after 98.
Was it?
Yeah.
When Letterman hosted the Oscars?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't after 98. It was.
You guys check that out. What
All right,
year,
wait a minute. I gotta look that up.
What year did David Letterman host the Oscars? And that's top of mind because the Oscars are this week, and we should talk a little bit more about that. But I'm really focused on this Uma Thurman.
She was in Batman and Robin. Thank you as Poison Ivy.
Ooh, good point.
Everybody knew who
That
Uma
was a
Thurman
big
was.
star.
She was in even Cowgirls Get the Blues.
Oh
based
yeah,
on the
Northerner mentioned that movie.
Yep.
Matrix. She was not in the Matrix.
No, but Hugo Weaving was.
Matrix. In 99. No, but in 99 was the Matrix. 98, when they were casting and filming, Hugo Weaving hadn't been in the Matrix. Uma Thurman hadn't been in Kill Bill.
Okay.
But I think you're right. She was Poison Ivy in Joel Schumacher's Batman movie.
But no, the advent of early rumor mongering when the one
94 Letterman hosted. Okay, so she was a big
Thank you,
star.
94. So the 19
Do you agree that Ethan Hawke would have made a great Éomer? I think so.
Yeah, Ethan Hawke would have been a really good Éomer.
I love Carl Urban.
Yeah.
Let's just get that out of the way. I will watch Carl
Urban's the best.
in everything.
Carl Urban is exceptionally good
Did someone just try calling?
as Bones McCoy in the Star Trek universe that J.J. Abrams has given us. Carl Urban is exceptionally good in the Judge Dredd reboot film, which was just called Dredd.
He was good in Pete's Dragon.
Along with Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones, who's in the Dredd movie.
Pete's Dragon's amazing.
Really, I have to admit, I dig Carl Urban. He's really, really, really good as Éomer. But also, just to be honest, I am still tantalized by the idea of Éomer being played by Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman playing Eowyn. But that would be difficult for us to peel them apart as brother and sister in the story because we know them in real life as husband and wife.
You would have got
been
more
weird.
Eowyn. I guarantee you we would have had more Eowyn on screen if Uma Thurman was in that role.
I think Uma Thurman kicks ass. I've always had a crush on her, to be honest. To be really honest, I've always thought that Uma Thurman was just awesome. I just really think she's awesome. And
we got a text message.
I'm just saying. I would not shut down the idea that, and I'm not the least bit surprised that Fran Walsh and Peter Jackson were in talks with the guys from New Line Cinema and had Uma Thurman in their offices.
All right, Erwana Undamiel says, since I grew up with Lord of the Rings when it came out, I always saw Miranda and Eowyn, not Uma.
All right. We have it now. It's film history now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely not going to say. I'll tell you what.
I thought
there's Dallas
Ethan
Barnett.
H would have been Faramir, not Éomer. Well, that's the information we were getting from Mr. Sear. I don't know if Mr. Sear is sincere when he says Ethan Hawke was Éomer. So, Mr. Sear, if you're still watching as the One Ring Net, please confirm.
Yes, please confirm.
Was he going to be Faramir or Éomer?
Okay, that's a whole different thing. Wow, if Ethan Hawke was going to be Faramir and Uma Thurman was going to be Eowyn, then that would have meant David Wenham would not have had the part.
I thought David Wenham was perfect.
David Wenham was he was great
He was perfect
as the Faramir, absolutely. Now let's think about that.
Uma Thurman as a female wraith? Wow. What do you people don't like Uma Thurman? Why do you think you have such a diametrically opposed opinion of Uma than a lot of our regulars here?
Because I've had a crush on Uma Thurman since I saw her in Baron Munchausen when she rises like a Botticelli's Venus out of that giant scallop shell, rising up and when the cherubs floating around her, and she waltzes up into the sky with Munchausen, who I just have always been in love with Uma Thurman. Sorry, can't help it. I can't help it.
I love Uma,
can't
just
help
not
it.
in Lord
Sorry.
of the Rings.
Ever since I saw Uma Thurman dancing with, as Venus, dancing up in the fountains, it's just so beautiful. I mean, Terry Gilliam knew what he was doing when he cast her. Peter Jackson knew what he was doing when he cast Miranda Otto. Enough said. This is about the director's discretion. Director's toughest job, as you know, before the camera opens up its lens and shoots a single frame of film, the director's biggest job is casting. And
Peter Jackson has a
really
stellar reputation in Hollywood as one of the best casting directors.
Indeed. It's true.
Period.
How good is Naomi Watts in King Kong? How good is Naomi Watts in King Kong?
Yeah.
I mean, she's awesome. She's everything about that film.
I forget that it's Naomi Watts. It's
I know. I love that. I mean, how good is the young lady Saoirse Ronan, who's in The Lovely Bones? Who discovered Kate Winslet? It wasn't James Cameron who discovered Kate Winslet and made her an international film star. It was Peter Jackson, right?
So what do you say?
Peter Jackson's casting skills are bar none, and we ended up getting such wonderful actors and actresses all together.
Thank you, Emily. Focoana says, I see Uma Thurman as an action person. Not sure that she would have been great as Eowyn. But your point is, Eowyn is an action person.
Eowyn is just as much action, and she proves that girls can do it just as good as the boys can do it.
She's the most action person.
She is the most action person, and she has the most action moment, and she takes down
of all women,
and she takes down the biggest boss monster on that level. She does.
Yeah.
She takes down the biggest boss. There ain't no single male person in all of Middle-earth history, except maybe Fëanor, who could have withstood the Witch King like that. Eowyn does it. So yeah, I'm all about Uma Thurman kicking ass and taking no names. I like that about her.
Let's see some Skype calls. Come on, guys. Let's get the Skype number. The Skype number and name is coming above our heads. You can call, you can text on the hotline, but try to Skype. Let's get some Skypes. I want to hear your opinions on this. We got to have more opinions on this. It can't just be me and him, because we are so. Usually, I'm the one that's supporting crazy casting. This is the opposite of where we usually are.
That's true. It's usually, yes, that's the other way around. But yeah, and yeah, you guys, this is your chance to interact live with us. We do have the hotline floating across our heads on this green screen.
Jay, you're British. You got to call in. Use Skype. Skype's free.
Yeah.
The One Ring Net.
Sure thing.
Look for, I think it's Webmaster, the One Ring Net. Let me make sure. Barliman Butterbur.
Thanks,
the
Ryan.
One Ring Net. Yeah,
yes.
that's just our...
That's us, yeah. Skype is on.
That's our name.
Eowyn is an action woman, but she's also incredibly vulnerable, and I don't think I've seen that convincingly from Uma. Very good. Maleficent. That's an interesting comment from Maleficent. I see a lot of Uma being vulnerable in other performances that she's done. But
that in our profile pic. Jeez.
Yeah, no, it's a great profile pic.
Party Thranduil.
Yeah, Party Thranduil with us. It's fantastic.
Okay.
But the maybe so. Miranda's vulnerability and the way that Theoden responds to that is one of my favorite pieces of drama in that storyline. One of the best things about the way the Two Towers and the Return of the King handle that subplot between the Éomer and Eowyn, a relationship with their uncle, and the way that she feels her struggle against depression and despair, and that awful dream, the dream she has of the wave taking over. She talks to Aragorn about that. Mm-hmm. But in Return of the King, when there's the mustering of the Rohirrim, and they're about to leave Dunharrow, and Theoden says to his niece this beautiful, very powerful line of dialogue, and oh, bless Bernard Hill, could never have had a better Theoden than what we got from Bernard Hill. He was ultra fantastic, and he says to Miranda Otto, she handles her vulnerability beautifully. I'm in agreement with you, Maleficent, that the way Miranda Otto handles that dialogue with Bernard Hill, and he says to his niece, no more despair. And he touches her face, and he tells her that she has the responsibility of carrying on the family name and protecting Edoras from the coming darkness. It is one of my all-time favorite things about the job they did adapting Tolkien from book to film, because I didn't even get that much between them in the book itself, and it's really fleshed out so nicely between those two characters, and God bless Miranda Otto for bringing that. It was amazing the way she acts, and her performance in that scene with Bernard Hill is, bar none, one of my favorites of all of them. I'm just saying.
Says,
I will admit that.
Objectively speaking,
I will admit.
I bet Uma would have done a great job.
We love you too, Argentina. We love you.
All right,
Chile.
we get another call.
Hey, we've got Chile and Argentina.
Hey.
Hello, how are you?
Well, look at there. It's our old friend
thanks.
Stargate Geek. How you doing there, Emily?
It's so bright.
I'm alright.
Where are you calling from?
From my bedroom.
I see that.
It's usually dark in your bedroom.
Where?
Yeah.
Tell the
For
viewers
my
at home
birthday
where you
last
are.
month, I got a special daylight lamp. So
oh,
it,
nice.
It brightens up the
A
place.
daylight lamp. But it's really, you're calling from England, right, my dear? And it's almost 1:30 in the
Yes.
morning? Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Yes.
All
What,
right.
1:30 in the morning?
Oh, very
You've
nice.
been in the chat for several minutes. You know the topic. What is your opinion on this Uma Thurman stuff?
Yeah, someone just asked in the live chat with us,
No.
wonder what the connection between
No.
Uma and Vigo. Can you imagine the Vigo Uma thing? Would that
No.
would that not work for you?
No.
Okay,
Why not?
tell us why.
Why not?
I've seen other people. I've watched other things, and people have in the past said about, oh, but what about so and so's being so and so in the Lord of the Rings and things, and although sometimes I've known the actors from other things, and sometimes I haven't, but I just can't. I think they chose the right people. I just
Okay, there you go.
don't see them.
But do you?
Spit it out. Spit it out.
Other people. I just can't see it.
But don't you feel that if Uma Thurman was in that role, we would have got more Eowyn on screen? And isn't that a good thing?
But realistically, it's, do we sacrifice for more screen time for possibly the not quite so touching performance?
Okay, that's not an equitable trade-off, is what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'd
I hear
rather
you, I hear you
less
on that.
is more. I'd rather have some really good acting in compact by one actor than a whole hour of screen time from an actor that I'm just gonna go, yeah, I preferred his role rather than her role.
Let's take this to the next level. Before we take our next caller, remember the rumors that Sean Connery, not Ian McKellen, was going to play Gandalf or was up for the role for Gandalf? Would you have ever imagined Sean Connery as your Gandalf? Could you ever imagine that? Because that was in the air at the time. When the OneRing.net started reporting all the news and rumors, that was the biggest hot rumor we had to report on. Was that, and even our friend Harry Knowles at Ain't It Cool News, he was talking about that too back in the early stages of this.
I don't know. I
You can't picture Sean Connery as the wizard, the wandering wizard?
I think he looks more like Saruman.
Oh, okay, hey, that's interesting. Sean Connery as Saruman.
His look, I think he looks more like a Saruman than a Gandalf.
That's intriguing. Oh, that's good. Well, you're looking quite well, Emily. It's good to see you here live on the show. Really good to see you. See? Well, no, if you can't see it, then you just can't see it. I can appreciate that. How about we take a look at what Focoena... looks like... there's Ellen
Appreciate you
Design.
calling.
Thank you for calling in, sweetheart. It's good to see you. Good to see you. There's Ellen Design. Uma is so amazingly cool. She's so beautiful, sexy, and tough.
Wow.
She
one of you.
could have been awesome. Miranda Otto was great too, though.
All right,
Thank you,
about
Ellen.
35 minutes
Thank
into
you,
the
Ellen
show.
Design. It's great to have you here on the show.
Break. Okay, if you're just joining us, this might be your first show. If you see this chat room right here in the corner, that is our regular chat at theonering.net/live.
That's our live event page.
LIVE is the name of the page. So theonering.net/live. That's a website. You type it in, you go to it, and that's how you get on this chat right here.
Point your browser to theonering.net/live.
And if you're watching on Instagram, we're kind of watching the chat, but we're mostly focused on theonering.net/live. So if you jump over there,
ooh, how about that?
All the chat rooms and stuff like
Armand Asante would have been a good Denethor.
Oh, he would have.
Yeah, he would have. I totally agree
yes.
with that concept. I love John Noble. He's particularly good in Fringe. John Noble is fantastic in Fringe.
I thought he was too cheesy for Lord of the Rings. That's the cheesiest performance I feel in Lord of the Rings.
I think it's the most
Denethor?
It's the most stage. It's the most theatrical.
Absolutely.
The most theatrical stage like on stage performance as opposed to being a movie performance.
Denethor's
perhaps.
performance took me out of the realism.
Share the load.
Like, I was just
The load.
I was just out of it with Denethor. But if
Hi,
you're watching,
Pipsky.
if you're watching on Instagram, I see Pixie Poet and a bunch of people from Argentina and Chile and Brazil. Jump on over to theonering.net/live. And
That's right.
We've
Join
got
us.
a big chat.
That's
You can
really,
also Skype
you guys
us.
are awesome joining us
Look,
here.
we're here in Hollywood at Meltdown Comics, but you can Skype us from anywhere in the world. I mean,
Yep.
we just had a couple calls from random places.
Should I turn my Skype on here, or do you want to use this
No, we'll
connection?
just use this one.
Okay, great.
But
Excellent.
I do want to mention that, we're talking about the celebrity castings. People are having a tough time, replacing Sean Connery with Ian McKellen. But, would you have accepted Liam Neeson as Boromir?
Yes. Yes, I would have. I sure would have.
Would you have?
Sure, I would have.
Yeah, you got to Skype us right now because Liam Neeson was up for the role of Boromir.
Where'd you get that info? It's the first time I've ever heard. That's the first time I've ever heard it.
Are you kidding? Like they
Really?
had
No, really. Honestly, it's the first time I've heard it.
Their all-star celebrity casting board had Sean Connery as Gandalf, had Nicolas Cage as Aragorn, Liam Neeson as Boromir, and Uma Thurman. They originally
Liam Neeson would have been great as Boromir. I'm sure it would have been quite interesting to see.
Uma Thurman had just come off of Pulp Fiction, where she had dark hair. So they originally put her in the Arwen category, but quickly moved her over to the Eowyn category. So there's been a lot of rumors that she was offered Arwen. Not true. False. Oh, Bruna is watching from Portugal. What's up?
Thank you for representing
We've
Portugal.
got a bunch
How
of
are you, dear?
Brazilians watching on Instagram and
now
an actual Portuguese.
This is fascinating. Dallas Barnett, who actually played a role in the Hobbit films, he actually has just blown my mind a little bit. Lucy Lawless was almost Galadriel.
Because Lucy Lawless was in
Xena,
which was filmed in
New Zealand. And
along with Hercules.
And had its armor and weapons created by
Weta.
That's right. And Weta worked on The Lord of the Rings. That's what happens.
We just got a text that says
That's fascinating.
Lena Headey would have made a good Galadriel.
Lena Headey would have made a good Galadriel, yeah. But I really love Kate Blanchett.
Was she the one in Gladiator?
She was the one in Dread, and she's in Game of Thrones as Cersei Lannister.
No,
she was not in Gladiator. And are you shaking
in-
your head at me when
who-
I say Game of Thrones?
who was
Don't you ever shake your head at me when I say Game of Thrones.
But who was in Gladiator?
I'm just saying. The man doesn't know his Game of Thrones. My God.
Who was the main woman in Gladiator? Oh, no, she was in 300. Lena Headey was in 300.
Yes, she was in 300. Lena Headey was in 300. Not to be confused with Game of Thrones or Gladiator.
So we've talked with Kate Blanchett about her filming Lord of the Rings, and I think she talks about this in The Hobbit behind the scenes. But she didn't really experience she wasn't all in on Lord of the Rings.
Really?
Even though she was Galadriel, she regrets that she didn't realize just how special that film and the process of that filming was.
She realized
and
it later on.
She didn't connect. She didn't really connect on a personal level with many of the cast. Like, it was just a gig for her. She went to New Zealand. She did a few weeks and then she left. She didn't really fully appreciate and immerse herself into the Lord of the Rings when she was filming it.
I think that's really unique that she's sharing that perspective. Isn't that cool that she's actually, admitting that outright?
Yeah.
I really do appreciate Kate Blanchett. I do.
Is there a way to just accept calls without accepting friend requests? You can call us. Just call us on Skype.
Sure.
We'll answer it. We'll answer the call right here. This is our Skype box, and if you want to join the chat room on screen, it's at theonering.net/live.
Hi, Pipsky. It's good to see you again on our live hotline.
Pete, I missed what you just said. Say it again. Leslie Nielsen as Gandalf. Oh, come on, Ryan Hamilton. You're just being a joker now.
Emily Stargate Geek, you've got an agreement from Pipsky. She wants to tell you, Emily was just with us on the Skype a second ago, that she agrees with you. I can't see any other actors play any of the roles in Lord of the Rings. They hit it on the money with whom they chose. They hit it on the money with whom they choose.
He's a great cast, and that's why I'm excited about what is it, Mortal Coils or Mortal Instruments or
Mortal Instruments. That.
What's the movie Peter Jackson's doing now? It's
it's
Mortal Cities or something like that.
It's oh gosh, it's not the Mortal Instruments. It's something else.
It says something other mortal.
Let's see. Look at this.
We're getting images on the text message.
Wouldn't have lasted. Oh, look.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Because
Okay, who? That's David Wenham.
Yeah, he was in 300.
Yeah,
He's the
that's
main
right.
guy in 300.
That's right, he is. Let us not forget. But I really like David Wenham as Faramir. I really do. I love David Wenham as Faramir, but I don't have
After watching 300, would you have guessed that Faramir had those abs under that armor?
Nah, who knew? Who knew?
Who knew?
Who knew?
What about Stuart Townsend?
What? See, this is what Kaylin Griffin is saying. What is Stuart Townsend? What if Stuart Townsend stayed on as Aragorn? Oh gosh, no.
Well,
oh gosh, no. Gosh, no.
Cliff has the inside scoop. I believe you know
that
Peter has the footage of Stuart Townsend as Aragorn, and they're holding on to it until a re-release. Is that correct?
They've been holding on to it this whole time.
So Peter wants to re-release the footage of Stuart Townsend as Aragorn.
I can't wait to see it. I've been waiting to see that for decades.
And Stuart Townsend was a name.
He was at the time. He ended up wanting to play the vampire Lestat instead of Aragorn. When he left the project, he went immediately to go work and playing the role that was once inhabited by Tom Cruise in The Queen of the Damned.
That's right.
That is the film that he did with Aaliyah.
I loved
died tragically.
Liv Tyler in the movie. Look, I loved Liv Tyler. I wish they would have included the scenes they filmed with her battling at Helm's Deep. I want to
see that footage too. I really do.
I want to see Arwen at Helm's Deep. Oh, we got another call.
Nice. Get another Skype. Come on in, Skype.
Hi, who's calling?
It's Dallas.
It's Dallas from New Zealand.
Yeah, buddy.
Howdy.
How you doing? You're about ready to leave New Zealand and come over this away, aren't you? Soon.
Yeah. We're gonna be in LA in May. So.
Oh, that's right around the corner.
You got to come out and come to the show.
Hang on,
Ladies and gentlemen, star of The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, playing the Bill Ferny Sr., the ruffian who's threatening Thorin's very life before Gandalf arrives. Somewhat providentially, Gandalf arrives at just the right moment before your evil handiwork is about to begin, good sir. So, how are you? Good to see you on the show.
Good to see you, man. Hey, listen, I got I found a website here that had 20 actors that were almost cast in Lord of the Rings. Did you know that David Bowie was actively campaigning to play Aragorn or not?
Elrond.
Elrond. Yes,
Elrond.
That's right. Yes, he was. Yeah,
that would have made a different movie, eh?
He had a casting meeting. He had a casting meeting. David went into a casting office in London and had a few conversations. I don't know, but Bob Shea and the guys at New Line were kind of buzzing about that. Yes, I remember. Yeah, and that was a big subject of controversy at the time. Peter has since said, Peter Jackson is quoted on record since then as having said that, and I think he says it in the director's commentary track, that David Bowie would have been a big distraction because of his stardom in the role.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, they would have had to put the David Bowie bulge in the costume.
Yeah, and look,
exactly.
David Bowie was and always will be a super duper star. So
absolutely.
I can understand the hesitation from casting. But what is your opinion on Uma Thurman? She was nowhere near the star of David Bowie. I think she still could have inhibited this role. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah.
I don't mind Uma Thurman. I don't know if she would have done the job that Miranda did. Miranda's got, I don't know, there's something about her that's I'll always see her in that role.
Yeah.
Uma Thurman, well, that's like some of the other big stars, like the Tom Cruises and such like that. When you know so much about them and their off-screen life, that it's not this person playing this character, or it's not this character anymore. It's this person playing this character. I never see a Tom Cruise movie and remember the name of his character,
right?
Because it's always Tom Cruise playing this character.
That's right, but we have to remember 1998 Uma is not the 2017 Uma. Like, she had not done Kill Bill yet.
Right.
You know, like that. She was known, but I would say she wasn't as known.
Right.
Like Hugo.
Right. I don't mind her. I saw an interview with her recently, and she's got a lot of presence. Just don't make her laugh.
Yeah.
She's got a kind of a grating laugh, in my opinion. So
that's funny.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, it could have been a completely different movie with some of the other casting decisions. I mean, Vin Diesel was almost Aragorn.
Oh God! Wow, really? Vin Diesel considered for Aragorn?
Yeah.
I can't put Stuart Townsend and Vin Diesel in the same casting office for the same role. I don't get that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look back, and Bill Bailey was almost played Gimli.
Yep.
Bill Bailey from Black Books.
Yep.
Really?
Wow. Sylvester McCoy, the actor that ended up playing
Radagast.
Radagast was almost Bilbo.
Yes,
That's right.
There was some conversation from Sylvester
he was
years later.
Second in line. Like, he was like ready to play old Bilbo.
Wow.
Sylvester McCoy.
Wow.
And Jake Gyllenhaal was almost Frodo. I couldn't imagine that at all. I'm not a big fan of Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Don't hold back, Dallas.
So
no, I won't.
No,
but
you
were on the Hobbit.
It's great. It's great.
When you were on the Hobbit, did you see like at any time? Did you see like, you know, you would shoot a scene one day with a certain actor, and then the next day a different actor would be playing a character? Did they switch out actors throughout the film?
Strangely enough, when we were at the Prancing Pony, you saw the interaction between myself and Thorin. The first day I actually shot with Thorin himself, and the second day I shot with Mark Atkin, which is a stunt and scale double.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, there's a lot of that go on.
Huh.
Wow, that's intriguing. So one day you did have Richard Armitage, and the next day it wasn't. Yeah. Wow, intriguing. I didn't really. No, I'm fascinated by the ideas of stunt casting. And I like the drinking game that people have with stunt casting of, you know, who could have been cast as so and so. But I have always given Peter Jackson full credit, 1,000% credit for the awesomeness of his casting choices. You gotta kind of give Liz Mullane a little bit of credit on that too, because she was the casting director for The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. That's right. I think she put together an amazing cast. She sure did. Absolutely, yeah.
There's people in the chat room just realizing who you are, that you were an actual character.
Yeah. So awesome, dude. So awesome.
Again.
It's great to have, you know, actual cast members come and share their memories with us. That's so awesome. How often?
Well, this is one of my as often as I can, my standard Wednesday afternoon New Zealand time things to do. I love your guys' show. I love the interaction you have with the fans and the audience, and I love the discussions you guys have, because, you know, me being a huge Tolkien fan myself, you guys bring a whole different, you know, way of looking at it to me. I've read the books. I've got everything Tolkien's ever written on my bookshelf back there, and I've read them dozens and dozens of times. But I mean, sometimes, Cliff, your knowledge of Tolkien and the behind the scenes stuff on the Lord of the Rings, it gives me a different way of looking at it, because I looked at it from my version, and then you being back in the Lord of the Rings days, you know, you know people that I know, and, you know, you've worked with people that I've worked with, and have stories about some of the people that I've met, and it brings it all home for me.
Me too. I really appreciate that. You years later, you ended up singing karaoke and drinking with some of the folks that I did 15, 16 years earlier. Probably at the same bar. Was it the Steamboat? Did you ever go down to the Steamboat in Wellington?
Yes, several times.
Several times. See, y'all were there. Yes, of course. As I love to say, the ring comes full circle. That's very nice. Yes, that's kind of fabulous.
Well, appreciate you calling in, and if you're in LA, you got to make time on a Tuesday to be with us.
Yes,
I will be in LA the first 2 weeks of May, and bet on it. I will come in and see you guys, and I might even bring some cider from Hobbiton.
Ooh,
Oh boy.
that sounds great,
Don't
dude.
tease us.
That sounds great. Let me ask you one more question before we let you go, my
So,
friend. Do you also agree that the big speech that Eowyn has, when she faces down the Witch King, and you read it in the book, and she says, "Begone, foul Dwimmerlake, for living and or dark undead, I will smite you if you touch him." She says this about, quote unquote, "He is my lord and kin." She has this amazing dialogue that Tolkien gives her. And aren't you, I'm still thinking 16 years later, why wouldn't they have given that to Miranda the way that they get? There's another critical moment in the trilogy where Frodo has dialogue where he says, "I do not choose to do what I have come to do." It's in the book. It's in the animated film from the early 80s, but
right?
they shot this footage. I have seen the footage of Elijah Wood saying all those words that are recognizable as that memorable speech from Tolkien's
Yes.
pages. I want to see, I wish Miranda had had the
Bye,
chance.
Deborah.
I really wish Miranda could have said that famous speech. Don't you think?
Yeah. Miranda did an amazing job.
Yes,
As I
absolutely.
said earlier, I can't imagine another actress playing that part.
No,
She
no,
has a
no disputing
presence.
that.
She has a presence, and if they would have given her that, it would have been one of the most powerful moments in The Hobbit and in The Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
So there's hours and hours and hours of footage that we shot throughout The Hobbit, and as you know, The Lord of the Rings that never made the release. And
Yeah.
when that unicorn version comes out, I will be the first in line to get that because I need that for my show reel.
Oh yeah,
I
dude.
believe
Oh
it.
yeah,
I
dude.
believe it.
For sure, I believe it. Oh, that's so great. Yeah, it would have been so awesome. Yeah, well, this is from the heart of Tolkien fans. We love Tolkien's dialogue because he knew
Yeah,
what he was doing. I just love it. So, thank you, man. Thanks for being on the show again. It's great to see you.
anytime,
We'll talk to you
anytime.
soon.
Have fun.
Cheers,
All right.
man.
See ya.
Bye. Awesome sauce.
All right, our Skype is still up, and we're talking Uma Thurman and Miranda Otto. This is amazing. If you're just joining us on Instagram, there's a 1 hour limit on Instagram, so you're gonna have to
Uh-oh.
jump in the next few minutes. We've only got a few minutes left on Instagram before Instagram just shuts us off.
That's
So
a fair warning. That's nice to
jump
mention
over
that.
to theonering.net/live and join the chat room.
Please do.
There's a bunch of people there
It's
having
not-
a wonderful time.
Yeah, come join them.
Concord,
It's not our
Northerner.
fault that Instagram has a 1 hour limit, but you
Alder
guys can
Smith.
join the party over there.
Look, Miranda Otto is an amazing actress. She's wonderful in the new 24.
She is wonderful in the new. Oh, she's great in the new 24.
We got another call.
Hey, Corbin McBride, which Lord of the Rings extended film is the best?
Hey, who's calling?
The Two Towers. That's the answer.
Dave
Dave from where?
from North Carolina.
Hey there, Dave.
Hey,
Nice to see you, Dave, in North Carolina. What's up?
good to see you watching. So the topic is Uma Thurman as Eowyn. What's your opinion?
Nay, no way.
No way?
Really?
Thumbs down.
No. Every time I think of Uma Thurman, it's like Pulp Fiction or something. I can't imagine her in that role. It's just Miranda Otto played that so well. Like I just permanently see her as the fixture in that role. Maybe it's just me, but they kind of talked about this in the chat earlier. But anytime you have an actor that you already know, it's very, like you had mentioned Sean Connery as Gandalf. I think I would have just kept thinking James Bond the whole time I saw him as Gandalf.
Yep.
That would have been a little odd.
Yeah, I know. Me too. Me too. I'm glad that didn't happen. I'm really, really glad that Sean Connery walked away from it.
There were so many casting decisions. I mean, they even changed Stuart Townsend. They exchanged him for Vigo. But then
And
you
it
had
happened
Liam.
it happened in The Hobbit with Rob Kaczynski. He had to suddenly leave the
for
company
Feely.
of.
Yeah, he was Keeley.
He left the company of Thorin. He was Feely. He was the original.
Keeley.
He was the original Feely. Before Dean O'Gorman.
He was one of those.
Dean O'Gorman was Feely. Keeley was Aidan Turner. Check your head at the door, my friend.
That's right.
We'll start out even. Anyways, back to the conversation. Yes.
But do you feel that there would have been room for some of these bigger stars that have been rumored to be cast, like Liam Neeson as Boromir, Would you have appreciated like some other casting?
Yeah, now Liam Neeson. Maybe it's just because I'm partial or maybe even biased. I would admit that I like Liam Neeson. There's something about his voice that just carries.
Yeah.
I mean, Sean Bean was an awesome Boromir. He was perfect for that role. But
Yeah.
I could Liam Neeson. That would have been really interesting.
Yep. It sure would have. Yeah.
Just the presence he has on screen. I mean, in some ways, I think he would have almost been intimidating.
Yeah.
Frodo would have ran away.
Yeah, but don't you feel that if Uma Thurman was Eowyn, there would have been more screen time for that character, which is a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, she possibly could have had more screen time, but then who are you taking away from? Is that less screen time with, per se, Viggo as Aragorn? Or, because, a lot of their scenes were either together or even apart at times. Like, what scenes are we losing in favor of that, I guess, would be my question.
The Return of the King lost a lot. It lost 12 minutes of Christopher Lee and the ultimate resolution of his storyline for the sake of other storylines. And The Return of the King, lest we forget recent history, The Return of the King was the only film in the Lord of the Rings trilogy that was allowed contractually by New Line Cinema to run longer than 3 hours. Now, Peter had a hard time convincing the studio to do this because they got into fights with the film distributors, the people who own the theater chains, because they complained, you give us a 3-hour, 20-minute Return of the King, you're screwing us over because we can't show the film multiple times through the day the way we could a 90-minute film. There was a lot of heat from film distributors who were not pleased that Return of the King was 20 minutes longer than The Two Towers and Fellowship of the Ring, respectively, which all clocked in at exactly 3 hours. So it's really a good point that you brought up. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely a good point in that conversation about editing a film. What do you lose when you gain footage of another character? What other storylines do you lose? And the ultimate symbol of that is the loss of Christopher Lee's Saruman's storyline in Return of the King. And that was something that Peter has admitted was heartbreaking to have to do.
Oh, I know, like, when I first saw the extended edition and I saw Saruman's death scene, I thought, why was this cut? I just couldn't even believe it.
Exactly.
I was like, why was it cut?
Exactly.
And then you see it, then you watch the extended edition, and there's this dialogue between him and Peter Jackson at a party or something, and you could just see Christopher Lee just looks so bitter. He just looks so angry.
Yeah.
They tried to laugh it off, but I mean, could you imagine, like, that? I mean, in the books, he dies in the Score of the Shire. Mm-hmm. But that was just an epic way for him to go, and not to see that, like, totally changes the scene.
Yep.
Changes that part of the movie. That's why I prefer the extended editions of The Hobbit as well.
Totally.
Always. Always.
I just think they're much better films, especially Battle of the Five Armies. I can't hardly watch the theatrical version of that movie at all because it's so choppy. The editing is terrible.
Yeah, it makes no sense. The theatrical of Battle of the Five Armies makes no sense.
Yep.
But that's another conversation for another day.
That is indeed.
Thank you much for calling. We're getting other calls right now.
Thank you for those observations.
All right, see you guys. Bye.
Great to have you on the show, man.
Helen, we saw you called. We saw a couple people call. Give us a call back. Hey, there's 15 seconds remaining on Instagram. How courtesy, 10 seconds. Jump on over to
Instagram.
theonering.net/live.
I know you're on your phone, on your
keep
Instagram.
on the show.
Open up a web browser. Point your browser to theonering.net/live.
And live viewers is ended. You know, we're still live.
Wow, we're still live here.
This is our Skype chat, and this is our regular chat. So you can join us, and the Skype name and number is scrolling above our heads. Just look for the One Ring Net. Webmaster at the One Ring Net. Uh-oh, we're getting a call from Kieran.
There's our friend in Wales, the young lad named Kieran Eowyn. How you doing,
sir?
Hey,
guys.
Hey, hold on. Let me see if
right?
Can I group conference? Let me see.
Try it. Let's see how many callers can we get at the same time.
Sorry, I've got to mute it.
You're going to have to turn down your audio.
Thanks. Yeah, I was phoning first.
Oh, wow. Nice to see you. How you doing there? Hey.
All right.
How you doing, sweet? What a sweet companion.
Yeah, this is Frodo.
That's Frodo. What a beautiful, beautiful boy.
Yeah.
Can we add people?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever tried to add Skype multiple windows at the same time.
I think you have, and it failed last time.
Ah, well. So what do you think, my friend? What do you think about the Uma Thurman possibly being in the role of Eowyn? What about this conversation?
Well, it's hard to say now because you're so used to stuff after what almost 20 years. Um, but at the time, it's like from what she was doing before then, it's like all action. The way I'd seen it is like Pulp Fiction and all that would just come out, and they were really adult films. So I've still not seen them. So it's hard to say.
Oh, really? See, it is very hard to say. Without the the effect of the Kill Bill movies on popular culture was huge. It was a huge impact. It was almost a seismic moment in Quentin Tarantino's career. Not to mention the way we, the population of movie-going public, respond to Uma Thurman. Everything we think about her is informed by that role. So grab
Yeah,
yourself a Blu-ray and do yourself a treat and check it out sometime. Definitely.
I will do.
Oh yeah.
I mean, do you think that we would have got more screen time for Eowyn if Uma had been cast?
Well, like your previous caller said, it's like what would you cut out?
Well,
It's all
think of the two
stuff.
towers. The two towers could have used more Eowyn, and there would have been a much more interesting dynamic. I never believed that there was ever a chance between Eowyn and Aragorn in those performances. You knew from the first movie that Aragorn and Liv Tyler, they were all in. So the idea of like Uma Thurman, a big star coming in and being like, ooh, that a second, tease for Aragorn, I thought would have played that angle a little better.
Yeah, but I mean, it's hard to say because if you knew the books, you knew what had happened. But
Yeah, that's true.
so
All right. Well, appreciate your call, and we're getting other calls.
It's good to see
Okay.
you, hon.
Thanks.
Great folk arena. Thanks for being with us. We have a faithful chat audience that's with us every week here. Helder Smith, how you doing there, buddy? Can you explain to us something
Hey.
about Gollum that wasn't
Hey,
in the movies?
is your video still on? Hold on.
Kieran, are you there, buddy?
Yeah.
There it is.
Helder
Hello.
Smith, I'll get back to that question. Something about Gollum that wasn't in the movies.
For some reason, the video's not popping up.
Some secret or something? I'm not sure. It's not a secret, but since we're in the middle of award season and we're waiting for the Oscars to come to us in just 5 or 6 days, we are scant days away from the Academy Awards. It's happening right up the block here.
Hey, call us back real quick, Kieran.
Yeah, Kieran,
Yeah, okay.
do a Skype
will do.
redial, buddy. So I'm intrigued by the idea that New Line Cinema put forward a very interesting campaign to get Andy Serkis Oscar consideration in The Two Towers. When The Two Towers on The Return of the King were released, there was a
It
significant
was so close.
push about Andy Serkis's motion capture performance. It was really quite intriguing.
Yeah, I hope that Andy Serkis gets an Oscar nominated for the new Apes movies. He's doing so much work
Oh gosh, yes.
for the next
yes, he is.
Apes movie.
He is.
We're going to try to Skype Kieran again. Hold on.
Yeah, we'll bring him in for a moment.
I tried group conferencing, but it didn't
Oh,
really
here's
work.
a great note we got on the hotline. Thanks you guys for sending us messages. It's 530 number 6 number 4 FRODO. But someone here anonymously sends a message. Fortunately, there is more Eowyn footage since she was
Hello.
she was
Hello.
filmed.
Can you see me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do. We see you
1
great,
second.
Kieran. Yeah, Miranda Otto was filmed in the glittering caves in the Two Towers. So there's more footage that could indeed show up in the Ultimate Unicorn Edition that we expect Peter will do in 5 years.
All right, Kieran, what's going on? The topic
How you
of
doing, Kieran?
discussions. Thanks for hanging on to us.
No worries.
Uma Thurman as Eowyn. Do you think we would have got more footage of Eowyn if she had been cast?
Nope, I don't really think so, to be honest. I think Peter Jackson chose the people that he believed, in his opinion, which we can't deny. He was one of the biggest fans of The Hobbit and Middle Earth and Third Age because he'd read them all and he got on videos and he, like you said, built the Hobbit home in his house. So not many people would go to that much extent as a Hobbit fan, which if someone's to put that much effort into their Hobbit life to make a film of it, then I think that they really do know what they're doing. And like Peter Jackson said, he was trying to find the cast that would suit better, that would work together, and hoping that they'd actually get along together. And now they're like they're best friends out of the movies too. So like I think that every cast was chosen because that's what Peter Jackson felt was right, and he was right because we got great films out of it.
We did.
So what do you think of people in the chat room are saying that Uma Thurman is 6 feet tall? I mean, she's a tall person. Do you think that would have changed the visual dynamic of, having a woman that is eye to eye with Aragorn? She might even be taller than Viggo. You just met Viggo a couple weeks ago, and he's not very tall.
Viggo? Yeah, he's
5'11". I don't really think so, because like it takes the slight romantic setting out of it, where you had in the Two Towers Aragorn and Eowyn having that close connection, but whilst Aragorn's with Arwen. So like it's like a kind of, I think Peter Jackson was trying to get like a slight little connection out of it, but I think it's more like you get the better scene. You won't get the better scene if Aragorn's looking up at someone, are you really?
Well, in Days of Thunder, they had to put Tom Cruise on an apple crate so he could stand up and be eye to eye when he was kissing Nicole Kidman, because she is an Amazonian woman who is, so tall compared to, I hate to say this, but Tom Cruise he's just a little peanut. He's very short. So, that would have been funny to see, Miranda standing taller over Stuart Townsend, because, he is shorter than Viggo. Viggo stands a full 5'11". He's a full-grown man, 6 feet tall, maybe.
All right.
In the right shoes.
We're gonna open.
I think personally, it shows the dominance of the man, of him being the taller than the actual woman. So it makes the effect of the films much more realistic and much more okay. They're getting a story. Like
I agree totally.
Indeed.
Those are good points. Indeed. I appreciate you calling, Kieran. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to see you, Kieran. How about this concept? Everyone loves Brienne of Tarth. Everyone loves the way that Gwendolyn Christie plays Brienne of Tarth.
Who's that?
Gwendolyn Christie, from Star Wars as Captain Phasma. Gwendolyn Christie.
You never see her face.
She is a very, very tall, statuesque, very tall woman, and she's even more Amazonian than Lucy Lawless as Xena, warrior princess.
I hate that term.
It's just she's so huge,
hate that term.
And it's amazing to me. Brienne of Tarth is a very popular character, one of the most popular characters in Game of Thrones fandom.
So what are you saying? Get on with it. I got things to say.
I got no problem with Miranda Otto or Uma Thurman being as tall as she is. Uma Thurman is also very tall.
I do, and I'll tell you.
I have no problem with.
I'll tell you why.
With Eowyn being tall, I got no problem with that.
I know.
I've got no problem with that. That's what I'm saying.
Because I think
that's what I'm saying.
That if you're gonna position just visually, and storytelling, that film is a different storytelling medium than a book.
Yes, that's true.
So you have Miranda Otto. She's looking up to Aragorn. She's looking up to him. For guidance, for rescuing, take the people to Helm's Deep, save her father or her uncle from himself, right?
Her uncle.
And then
her uncle. Yes.
And there's just this. The thing I like, and someone got into it on Facebook, and they said Miranda Otto's vulnerability are what makes that character great, and Miranda Otto. As tall as she is or as short as she is, and she played vulnerable very well, and it worked for that character, and it really worked for that character because you can totally see.
Yes, it did.
You can totally see the vulnerability of Eowyn, Miranda Otto's Eowyn, compared to Liv Tyler's Arwen. If you're looking at who am I going to spend the rest of eternity with, you want someone equal. Eye to eye.
Right.
And every single shot of Liv and Viggo together They are equal height.
Yes.
They are looking at each other face to face.
Yes.
He is a king and she is a princess. They are equals on all levels. Visually, spiritually, dynamically, politically. That's who he must be with, an equal. And that has to translate through film with that. If you had had a taller Uma Thurman as Eowyn, it would have lessened.
Yeah, I hear you.
It would have lessened Arwen's impact, and it would have lessened Eowyn's vulnerability. And I don't think Aragorn as a character, Aragorn does not fault Eowyn for being vulnerable. You can just totally tell, you're not my type, girl. Even when he comes back through the gates, and Aragorn stumbles through the gates, and she's like, my love. And he's like, I got no time for you. Like,
yeah, I get that.
We got another call.
Hey, yes, come on in, Skype caller. Hello
Hi,
there.
Who's calling? Where are you calling from?
It's Pete.
Guys,
North
it's Pete.
Runner.
Hello.
How you doing there, buddy?
Where are you calling from?
Long Island, New York.
All right.
I'm a mile and a half from the Amityville Horror House.
Oh,
Nice.
If I ever go to New York, I'm coming to your place and we're going ghost
Okay.
hunting.
And I'm bringing a jar of flies. We'll let them loose in the house. It'll be fun.
All right, you know the topic of discussion today, Uma Thurman as Eowyn. You know his opinion, you know my opinion. Who do you agree with?
Well, I forget which one takes which thing because you guys been going back and forth. But I like Miranda. I'm used to it. The only problem with her, I thought she was a little too soft. You know, in the books, Eowyn was like a warrior. You know, she let her guard down every now and then, but for the most part, she was like, especially when she was Durnhelm riding to battle, she had like a face of death on. They didn't really do that in the movies. You know, like she didn't crack.
Uma would have done that.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Miranda. I'm not saying you should put Thurman in, but that was the one thing I didn't like about her. She was a little too girly, if you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah, totally. I enjoyed that aspect of the character, and I feel like the movies needed that girliness and that vulnerability. But to your point, if you wanted a more book accurate Eowyn, you got to go with Cliff, and you got to go with Uma.
Well, I'm a book snob, but I don't know. I think Miranda looked more the part. I just thought, you know, personality, she was a little too soft. I liked her though.
Yeah,
I'm not crazy about Liv Tyler, but in the part. But I like Miranda. That's all.
I dig that.
And us old guys know stuff, you know.
Yeah.
We have such an interesting spectrum of opinions today because there was a very fine comment. I believe it was Ryan in the Facebook chat who said that there was that vulnerability that he saw in Miranda Otto's performance that Uma Thurman probably could not have delivered at all. And he felt, and he said, in my opinion, that it would have been awkward to see Uma Thurman trying to bring the vulnerability that Miranda Otto so effortlessly brings. And I'm kind of...
But to Pete's point...
I can see that point,
if
too.
you want to be a book snob about it and Tolkien's intention with that character...
Yeah, well...
The vulnerability is not part of Eowyn's character in the book.
It
is in a way. It is in a way.
No,
because she's...
Pete,
Well, I don't remember her cracking until the Houses of the Healing, which she finally softened with Éomer, with Faramir.
Yes,
that's when she finally let her guard down and melted.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I'm not being critical of Miranda Otto. I like her, you know, but that's the only minor thing. You know, it's small stuff, small change.
Yep. Small change.
But this is different. Like, is your reading of the book same as Pete's here, which is, she's a strong, you know, woman, and she only breaks down at one point in the Houses of Healing.
Yes.
Not constantly. Like,
also when Wormtongue gave her the little speech about the brigands in the reek,
yep.
You know, that she sort of cracked a little bit then too.
Yeah,
you know,
she did.
But pretty much she was warrior princess, a nice princess, kind of. But I love her anyway, you know, even if she can't cook.
So Uma would have been a more book accurate performance.
I tend to think just looking at her genotype, Uma Thurman, looking at her features, how Uma Thurman reminds me of every striking, tall, beautiful Scandinavian woman I've ever met, and I've met quite a few in my day. Some of my best friends are from Stockholm. I've been to Sweden. I know how Uma Thurman does strike me with that Northern European Viking blood. I just kind of see it in her, I guess. I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't replace Miranda's performance, and I would never want to. Like, I'm with you. I really enjoyed, and with many people, I really loved what Miranda was bringing to it. But I am tantalized by the idea of that anger, that spark that's in Uma Thurman's eyes, especially noticeable in the Kill Bill movies. I would have been very intrigued to see that spark in her eyes as Eowyn. That would have been interesting to see. Really.
Yeah, I don't think Eowyn or Uma would do like that. Ah, that thing. That was a little over the top, I thought. With the sword.
Yeah.
To scream, and she would have just gone, "Hey,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think you know what I'm saying."
No, I agree. I think that the fight choreographer could have gone over a totally different bit of movement and battle movement for them in that scene. I think it is better handled in the animated film from the early 80s, to the Rankin and Bass Return of the King. Check it out, guys, in case you haven't ever seen it.
Okay, one quick question for Cliff. Now, could you see Uma Thurman do the softening part? In the Houses of Healing. She is such a Nordic warrior type of person.
Maybe that would have been the challenge for her as an actress to do that. Maybe that would have been the real challenge for her to soften up later on in the story.
You'll never know. All right, I'll let you guys go. I have other callers. My birthday is Friday, so Thursday will be the last time I can ever sing when I'm 64, because Friday I will be 64.
Oh my gosh!
Wow!
Happy birthday! Happy early birthday!
Very happy early birthday, Pete. It's great to see you, man.
Thank you, guys. If I live that long.
You will,
you
dude.
will. And was that a guitar?
Yeah.
You're holding back on us.
He's quite the musician, this guy.
I played for Cliff's birthday 2 years ago.
Yes, he did. Remember?
Oh, you know what?
I remember.
Next week on this show, you call us back with that guitar, and let's get some live music on this show.
Yeah, let's do that for sure.
I'll do like a far over the misty mountains cold or something
all right,
that.
Save it for next week.
That'd be awesome, Pete.
Thanks for calling.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
You too, man. Great to see you.
Great
to see you.
I love all these phone calls. You guys, thanks
too.
for keep calling in on Skype. This has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation.
Yes, it has been indeed.
About everything Uma Thurman. I didn't think we would be able to talk an hour and a half about Uma as
We
Eowyn,
sure can.
but we sure did.
We sure did.
One rumor, and we haven't really. And Ethan Hawke, her husband at the time, Ethan Hawke, as Eomer or Faramir.
Since we're talking about stunt casting, look who's here on the cover of the Hollywood Reporter. It's Emma Stone.
What does she have to do with anything?
Just thinking up this random outside the box. What do you think of Emma Stone? If the Lord of the Rings were remade right now today, would you think Emma Stone Oscar nominated for her performance in La La Land?
No.
Do you think Emma Stone would have been
I won't even let you finish that sentence.
Would an interesting Eowyn? No? I guess not. Oh, well. I guess not. Really?
No. Uma Thurman, look here.
I think there's possibilities.
No, but how much have we talked about? What was Tolkien's intent with the characters, and what did Peter Jackson do with them? Some of the changes Peter Jackson had to do, must have done, and did well, right?
Yes.
But Eowyn, I don't think gets as much of a critical eye. Miranda Otto did so well with Eowyn that her character's performance does not get as critical an eye from the hardcore fans of the books as it should.
The hardcore fans of the books don't complain about Miranda. They complain about the dialogue that she was shouldered with, and the moment when she confronts the Witch King. Because they want to hear the full speech. It's really not about her. It's about the way the adaptation was done at that moment.
And I will say that I hadn't read the books going into the Lord of the Rings films. So
this was your first experience. You didn't even know what that speech was. You don't know what you're missing then.
I didn't know what I was missing. But from a filmmaking perspective, from a totally novice perspective, we open with the King of Rohan burying his son.
Yes, we do.
And we are told visually that there are 2 more children of Rohan that can basically pick up that sword.
In the extended edition, we very early on, see Theodred's dead body. Not in the theatrical version.
Right.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that in the movies we are introduced that the king has lost his son.
Yep.
There is no immediate heir to the crown of Rohan.
Yes.
They're going into battle. But we're introduced to 2 people that could take up the throne.
The niece and the nephew.
The niece and the nephew.
Yeah. And
then we see that the nephew goes off with the Rohirrim.
Yes.
And we spend a lot of time. In fact, I would argue that the niece has more. Eowyn has more screen time than her brother.
She does.
Right.
Overall, especially evident in the extended editions, Miranda Otto has more screen time than Carl Urban. It's very true.
And so as we
add in the extra Houses of the Healing sequence.
Yeah, and as we get to Return of the King, where she is told to stay back, but then she goes undercover and she takes the halfling with her and she rides into battle. The whole movies are set up so that Miranda Otto's Eowyn is the standard bearer and the heir to the throne of Rohan.
Yes.
She is totally set up like that. But then I don't see it in her performance where she's like always, where's Aragorn? Where's Aragorn? And every time Aragorn's on screen, she's like about to cry and she's shaking from intimidation and vulnerability. And then she goes into battle and she has a cheesy line, but we never.
So that's how you felt about it.
We never got
a person
the
who never read the books.
Correct. Well,
you thought it was a cheesy moment. Her confrontation with the Witch King.
Oh yeah.
When you first saw it, that was your first moment and your first impression.
I am no man. How he is that bad guy is destroying everything in its path, and she has time to whip off and do a Pantene Pro V hair whip commercial, and then go, I am no man, boom. But then we never get closure of her taking up what was previously a man's position as the King of Rohan. We never get to see her assume the throne of Rohan.
It automatically goes to her nephew. I mean, her brother.
But
Eomer.
It was not set up for that. We had spent 2 movies growing her character to go from this sheep middle thing that's being, that's fighting with Wormtongue and doing the politics behind the scenes with Wormtongue, all the way up to destroying the bad guy of all bad guys.
Yes.
And then, what was Tolkien's intent with her? Did Tolkien want to have her become the Queen of Rohan? And why didn't Peter Jackson pay that off?
Begone, foul Dwimmerlake, because you stand between me and my lord and kin. And then
what are you laughing at, Emily?
It's true.
I'm making sense, am I not?
And living or dark undead, I will smite you if you touch him. That's the big line. That's the big speech. If she had gotten that big speech, and if the fight choreography with her and the Witch King had been different, you all would have been left with a different impression overall, I'm quite sure. Seth Lippa says that I remember the I am no man was a big talk on the morning news interview with the actor, with Miranda. Yes, I can imagine. But you know what? That Pantene Pro V moment that she has, when Durnhelm is the assumed name that Eowyn takes. When Durnhelm appears within the ranks of the Rohirrim soldiers, they don't know it's Eowyn. She's using the fake name Durnhelm. Okay. And she secretly takes Mary, pulls him under her wing, and lets him ride with her. Because Theoden even bids that Meriadoc will not go to Minas Tirith. And he wants to go too, right?
So did Tolkien ever mention or hint at Eowyn becoming queen?
No, but Tolkien writes that her hair flows in the wind when Durnhelm removes the helmet.
Yeah.
So Tolkien gives her that moment, I believe. So I wouldn't worry about that. Hello, I stole the One Ring. Guess you'll have to leave through the Ustream chat door.
Look,
Bye.
It's been a wonderful conversation.
Good
with
to
you
see you
guys.
on the chat.
We had so much to talk about.
It has been a
the
great
Oscars.
conversation.
What the Oscars are this Sunday.
They really are.
Viggo Mortensen is up for Best Actor.
Yep.
He is I think third or fourth in the betting.
We get these things in the mail all the time. You
He's
see
a
this?
long shot. Viggo's a long shot for Best Actor. We would love to see him win. But,
we would love. He is up
you
against
know
Ryan
what?
Gosling.
Ryan Gosling has got a lot of momentum.
For La La Land, he's up against Denzel for Fences.
Is Maharashi Ali on there? That movie, he's amazing in that movie.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is really an interesting time of year here in Hollywood. It is what they call the busiest day in LA. That's bigger than Christmas. The Oscars. Oscar Sunday is the biggest day in this town because it's an industry town. I have to admit it. It is an industry town.
And we have a reason to watch because Viggo's going to be there. Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be there.
Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be there. Viggo.
Miranda Otto may be there because she's in 24 right now and she's doing a great job.
Oh, I love
24.
Miranda Otto on
There's
that show.
so many Lord of the Rings actors.
And guess what? A big upset in the animated film category.
What else?
Kubo and the Two Strings won the BAFTA award. You guys were paying attention to what Beyonce was doing at the Grammys. Meanwhile, on the other side of the pond, that Sunday night, Kubo surprised everyone by stealing Best Animated Film at the British Academy Awards. And it's going to be a really interesting night. Zootopia might have an upset in that category, and Kubo might win.
I hope Viggo's performance in Captain Fantastic
wouldn't that be a nice thing if he won?
Amazing.
Yes, it is a great movie.
Huge upset.
I agree.
The odds are against him, but I just want to watch and see him there mingling. And I don't know if Andy Serkis is going to be there, but we think he's going to get nominated after War of the Planet of the Apes comes out this year.
Check out Clayton Davis's predictions on awardcircuit.com. I mean, more reliable than IndieWire, perhaps, or some of the other Oscar buzz predictions. Definitely check out awardcircuit.com because they've got some really good prognostications. It's all about that. Right before the Oscars happen, everyone in town is guessing or second guessing and prognosticating who's going to be the winners at the upcoming Academy Awards, while we, the locals, have to deal with the street closures that make getting around town so difficult.
Asked, could Benedict Cumberbatch have played anything in Lord of the Rings, like Elrond maybe? No, dude. And the only rumors that we have are that Peter Jackson, if they were ever to re-release Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson's going to go back and re-record all of the dialogue that Sauron has with Benedict Cumberbatch's voice, because he does.
He's going to retcon that.
Because in the Hobbit movies, he plays the necromancer.
Yes, he is. He is Sauron himself.
Right, he's Sauron himself. So if you're going to do Mouth of Sauron, I wouldn't mind seeing Bruce Spencer's face with Benedict Cumberbatch's voice coming out. I would love to see that. Let's make it happen.
That would be
Unicorn
quite good.
Edition.
That could be the amazing hypothetical Unicorn Edition.
Thank you for joining us. We're here every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific.
Yep, and we'll see you guys next week. Well, we'll see who actually walks away with the gold statues after this Sunday. Yes, Dallas, I agree with you. Kubo rocked. Ryan Hamilton. Will Andy Serkis be there? He plays Snoke, and Rogue One is nominated for visual effects. You know what, Ryan Hamilton? That's an interesting thing.
Snoke wasn't in.
Snoke was not in Rogue One, but he was in The Force Awakens. But Ryan Hamilton, I think that would be really, really cool if Andy Serkis shows up at the Oscars. But I don't think it'll happen until one of the Apes movies gets him the coveted nomination in one of the performance categories.
It better.
And we'll have to wait till 2018 to see that happen. All right, everybody, enjoy the evening. Thank you to all of our friends in the United Kingdom and everywhere else around the world, in Europe and in Africa, staying up so late into the night. We loved having all of our friends from Argentina and Chile who were with us on Instagram. That was really awesome. Really good night. What a great show.
Yeah.
You guys take care of yourselves.
I don't know why it's happening.
It's like, that playback is going to cause an echo, isn't it? Yeah, there it is. Bye, guys. Have a good night.